Good morning, guys. Welcome to another episode of Ksa Talk Show. So I'm waiting for people to come on, and I think today we're gonna do mostly answer questions. I have been cycling my Ksa Talk Show hours like round the clock. 24 hours, all of the clock, so people around the world can join me anytime. And so in the past week, we haven't been doing it uh, in the morning. Hey, good morning, Isaac. Good morning from Northern California, and good morning to Southern California. That's good morning to UC Irvine. So I think, hey, Jack Liu, great to see you again. So I think I'm going to do some Emacs today. I don't know. So I have some topics here I might talk about, and so if you guys have a question, or if you want me to talk about a topic, just type it. Oh, you have to go to a class soon. So what class is it today? So Isaac is studying computer science and engineering. Um, and so I have some topics here. I might talk about any one of them, but also on top of that, there's a bunch of things. There's something about Emacs, something about JavaScript, about programming languages, about learning a natural language like English or French. I tell you my tips, techniques to learn a new human language. So Jack says it's 11 o'clock, 11:30 Beijing time, which is Monday, right? Monday night. So Jack says he's going to informatics. Informatics. Like teaching people about how to work in a team to develop software and stuff. There's such a thing. Oh my God! What has classrooms becomes today in computer science? Informatics, is that actually a word, or because that seems like infomatrix, or informatics. That's interesting. Like teaching people about how to work in a team to develop software and stuff. That's a questionable class topic for these days. If you are learning computer science or any hard physical sciences, like math, physics, or engineering, you you don't want to study like how to work in a team. That's kind of getting stupid. You should be learning. I mean, as a class, computer science, you should be learning about hardcore stuff, computer science, and math. It's just one class requirement. Yeah, even that, I think it's silly. I mean, the basic skills of collaboration with other human animals, okay, that is a basic skill. I think, that is usually you learn that from uh, collaboration. I think it becomes very silly to actually teach a course about that, because you work with people. That's a basic human skill. You should have learned that. I mean, in general, okay, the people should have learned that in just interaction with people, by college. We're talking about college, like university. That's after uh, after middle school, after high school, then you go to college. It's supposed to be uh, like real knowledge. So yeah, I think the education system in USA is going down pretty bad in the past 20 years. Like today's college students, I don't think they really learned much of anything. Also, by the way, well, I mean, for those of you, if you have not decided, I mean, if you are a young guy and if you have not decided whether to go to college, my advice is that if you are studying computer science or even mathematics, don't go to college. You don't have to. Okay. For those of you are like you are not undecided. Okay. My advice is you don't have to. You don't go. Especially, I mean, if you are studying computer science specifically, there's nothing. College is not teaching you anything. You if you want to do computer science or programming as a career, uh, even theoretical computer science, there's no need for college. All it takes is your interest, your strong interest in the topic. Then you can learn on your own. Your time is much better, more efficiently spent. Uh, you know, Instead of going to college, because going to college, you have to commute and stuff. Anyway, so so yeah, let me actually let's see how many people watching. Five people. Okay. Hello guys, say hi here. Okay, and let me know what topic you want me to talk about. But meanwhile, let me just start working on something. Show some Emacs probably because um, it's morning. A lot of people are following me for Emacs. Let me talk about um, let's see which topic. HTML4. Let's talk about HTML4 frame set. Okay, let's go to JavaScript blog. Okay, now Google HTML. So in the website you have this thing. Let me show you. You have this thing. API. Okay, you can see there are several panels here, and this is JavaScript API. This is basically Java, not JavaScript, Java documentation. So you have Java packages. You can scroll around over here, for example, pick that one. Then it lists the stuff related to that topic, and then you can click here. Let me magnify. Okay, it does work. So you have, I mean, the point is that you have several frames, and once you click on one of them, it's remain highlighted. You see, I mean, each frame acts independently. Uh, let me answer that question in a bit. So you got, this is called frame set. Now this is a technology invented by Netscape back around uh, I forgot when was it invented. Maybe in 2000s, by two, yeah, maybe 1997 or before. So but however, basically Google killed it. Google and the web dev community killed it. So this is called iframe, and this iframe is in the HTML4 standard. So let me show you. So you can go to, I have a tutorial here. This is called, not iframe. It's called HTML frame set. Okay, so you can see it's like this. So basically, the idea is that you have independent panels, and you can actually adjust each panel's size in the browser however you want, and you can click to switch, you know, like index of topics, just like this JavaScript documentation page. This is very extremely convenient, and it's part of HTML4 standard. HTML4 is basically used throughout 2000s. But however, Google killed it. Google and the web dev, Google convinced the web dev community, saying that the frame set idea is bad. Okay, why is it bad? Because the main reason is they say is that it makes search engine hard to find stuff. I actually never quite understand what's their reason. I never took the time to study it in detail. But anyway, the web communities decided this is not good, so they killed it. So it doesn't exist in HTML5 anymore. HTML5 began around 2008 or so. So it doesn't exist anymore. So nobody is using it today except the Java documentation. However, it's not likely to go away though, because the web, it's not likely to go away for the next, let's say, 5 or 10 years. But anyway, it's no longer in HTML5. And in HTML5, you if you want to try to do that, you use the iframe. Iframe is like you can create a window within a page, and this window is basically a HTML page by itself. But it's very bad. It's very bad. Basically, this frame set is very useful, especially you have, like, for example, let me show you my Python content. Okay, so you see my Python content. I'm not using frame set. I'm not using frame set. Okay, just using CSS to have these. So you can select a topic. Actually, let me show you this in Safari. So if you guys have a question, just ask it. Okay. So in Safari, not open link in Safari, but Safari open in Safari. So you can see, so I have this, but however, if I'm over here, I click this one, it's not highlighted. I don't know which page I'm on. But however, if you are using frame set, you click anything, it remain highlighted. For example, let's click that. You see, does it? Oh, actually, it doesn't. But anyway, okay, I kind of lost what I'm saying, but basically, what I'm saying is that this iframe is very bad, and basically to this day there is no way. Even with JavaScript, it's basically impossible to duplicate this wonderful frame set feature. And one of the most important thing is that you can adjust any of these panels any way you want. For example, if you don't want the bottom one, you can just, like, drag it down. Okay, that's about frame set. I kind of lost the train. I kind of lost what I really want to say. But basically, Google, they killed the frame set feature, and that's bad. So let's see, just one class. So Jack says the cannot be visited. Oh, Xali.org cannot be visited because China banned me. That's why. Because I have some stuff on that domain name, and it's sensitive topics in China. So China, banned Xali.org long ago. So do you use front web frame web framework like React and Vue. No, uh, I have studied React and I think it's very good. But however, I haven't used it because mostly because I'm not working for a company, and for my own website, it's mostly just static HTML. And if I want to use JavaScript, for example, let me show you an example of JavaScript I have written. I talked about this last time, but let me just show you. Xali info. Go to Unicode. Here you can type anything. Let's say CHI. Okay. Now this shows all Unicode characters that contains the letter sequence CHI. Let's try comma actually. Let's see. COM M. Okay, you see all sort of commas. Let's try QUES. So you can see all the words question mark. Let's try something. Let's say ONE. So anyway, this is written in JavaScript, but the way I code JavaScript is usually it's basically vanilla JavaScript, no framework, no libraries, no nothing. Everything I code manually by myself. Yeah, JavaScript, yeah. Uh, yep. So that's okay. I kind of lost track what I'm gonna talk about. So let's close that framework. How is everyone? So what you up to, Jack? Jack is in China. Um, so any okay, let me ask a question then. Let's see what else. Okay, I'm going to change my, this is because this is my channel is called Xa Talk Show, but I think I'm going to change it to Xa TV. It's a shorter name. It's kind of um, more recognizable. Xa TV. Um, So let's talk about interface design. So there are so many to talk about. The thing is, when I want to talk about something, I have to get myself started, like, because otherwise, I just, uh, okay, let's talk about peep show windows. These are user interface designs. Okay, I'm actually near my sleep time. After the talk, I'm going to go to bed. So user interface design, user interface, the programmers, the entire industry is usually very idiotic. They have like no idea what, when it comes to user interface. You know, especially those so-called user interface experts. You see them all every day on Twitter and Hacker News and so on. And these days it's called, there's a new jargon called UX. UX, the X means experience, like user experience. So user, it's used to be called user interface, UI. I mean, the concept of user interface is that, when you design a website or any application or software, you want to, there's some kind of art and science to user interface design, because you want it to be intuitive, easy to use, readable, easy to read, and so on. Things like that. because if you have a bad user interface, people don't know where to find information, uh, things like that. So that's called user interface. I mean, that's a very general topic, and part of a software. You have to do that. But the thing about, hey Danielle, but today they have the new jargon and concept called UX, meaning user experience. So what does it mean? It means, it's supposed to mean that when people using a software or a website, or app, they have, they want to focus. I mean, one aspect is the user's experience. Like when a person uses your software, does he or she, actually enjoy it, or does it, like, how does he find it difficult to use? So that's the idea of, user experience, abbreviated UX. You can find it a lot on Twitter, like or if you just search for UX, for example. Like every day they are user experience design. Yeah, that's bullshit. All these articles, it's I can tell you it's pure bullshit. I also have a some kind of obsession with user interface. These are, besides, writing systems, programming languages, design, Unicode, anything related to that, including user interface. And so anyway, these articles are all crap. Okay, Lexus UX, user experience, UX for beginners. Yeah, all these are crap. Websites. They are there because they just want to make money. They, if you go there, their content is garbage. All these I can tell right away. And these, they just want you to click it. So they have ads there and they make money. And these topics are, popular, especially, they are kind of non-technical topics, and a lot of people just, go there. And anyway, so the first of all, UX is a extremely idiotic concept. Basically it's just covered by UI. It's the same thing. That user interface design includes user experience. Obviously. So why do they have UX? Why do they have user experience? The phrase. It's only because marketing. But anyway, so one of the user interface idiocy, okay, is peep show windows, like tiny window. Our screens gets larger and larger, excluding the phone, okay. But for the monitor, in general, they become so large, so many pixels. Back in 1991, I bought, basically the high end monitor made by Apple. Apple's monitor. Let's see, Apple 13-inch monitor. I bought this in 1991, and guess how many pixels are there? Uh, I was hoping for a Wikipedia article, but uh, Apple displays. Yeah. So I bought this one in 1991, and it only has 640 by 480 pixels. This one. And it cost, like, I think it was 1,000 or 2,000. 1,000. It must be this monitor, and this is a high-end color one. Back then, a color monitor is even rare. And but today you got, lots of pixels. So the monitors gets bigger and bigger. However, like on Windows, when you want to, for example, internet options, you go options, then it pops up this small window, and you cannot enlarge it. It's extremely idiotic. You get this the claustrophobia kind of thing. So you have to scroll, through these boxes and click these little boxes. Like, my monitor is this big, but they create this window that's not resizable, extremely idiotic to this day. Like today, it's still in Windows 10. It's still like that. And here's another example. This is installing Oracle VM virtual box. This tiny window. You see, you cannot resize this whole window. You are forced into this tiny window, and especially you look at these parts. You have to like scroll left and right to see what it says there. And here's a modern example: Twitter. I cannot possibly understand how these idiotic people, these supposed to be programmers, I mean, all the user interface designers, they came up with this. Okay, this example is Twitter. Like we can, for example, I'm going to for example, let's see, okay, this post I enjoy, I open it. You see, you get this tiny window. Like, what the fuck is this? My monitor is this big, and but I'm forced into using this tiny pop-up window, and you cannot even like enlarge it. For example, if I full screen my window, that remains the same size. This is so these are like total complete idiocy. And but somehow they are embraced by all these hacker news, like hacker news every day. Yeah, hacker news slash dot, this elite programmer, idiotic, you know group. And also, every now and then you'll see, user interface gurus. They write blogs, and every programmer says, "Oh yeah, we need to do that." It's just incredible, impossible to believe. And also here is here's another example: Google Plus Peep Show window. On Google Plus, which closed down a few days ago, when you want to make a post, it pops up this tiny window for you to type. I mean, what's the deal with it? Um, and a lot of examples. This is Google Plus. You are there are like there are tens of comments, right? But you are forced into this little box, this little uh, display, port kind of. Then you have to scroll. And here's another example. This example is in Stack Overflow. When they show a code, then you have to scroll over here, left and right. I mean, look at this case. You go to Stack Overflow. My monitor is big. Okay, I mean, even the window size is big. So, showing code is very common. It's like, almost on every post on Stack Overflow. So you see an answer, code answer there. Then you have to like move your hand to the mouse or something or other device to scroll the horizontal scroll so that you can read the rest of it. This is complete idiocy. Okay, of course they have reasons. Like, for example, in this case, their reason is that the proper user interface design is that you should never uh, I mean, everything should be visible. Therefore, therefore they create this left and right scroll bar. If you want things to be visible, it's easy. You use CSS to create a automatic wrap. Hold on a second. 啊，我现在有事，等。Hold on a second. I'll be right back in 1 minute. my roommate. So I'm gonna look at the comments just a second, but let me go to let me show you example. So I'm starting to talk. Okay, that's good, but I'm trying to reduce my repetition. Like I find do you guys find me sometimes repetitous? Like for example, look at this my JavaScript, my Python tutorial. Okay, now you see the code. You see the code here. Now suppose I have a narrow window. You see how they you know ignore the side panel for now. Let's just say let's say this window. Okay. Now you see now if I shrink it, you see the line just go to the next line. They just wrap around. While meanwhile they are still technically remains one line. For example, this line, they are one line. They are not actually two lines. However, they are simply displayed as two lines. I mean, this can be done with CSS. Okay, so this way, when you look at you go to my website, a website designed like that, you don't have to like look at the code. Then there's a scroll bar down under. Then you have to scroll it left and right. It's extremely idiocy. Okay, I don't I cannot the the painful thing about this website is that they are almost always created by these gurus, web design gurus, and they are chanted by these supposedly expert, like every programmer, every web developer. Okay, they all say, okay, you should do this, like this example, you should do this. But this is just bad. So in general, the industry programmers, they are like that. They always, you look at many of their opinions, they think they are great, but actually very bad. And in fact, this is so this is one of the issue. User interface design peep show windows. But I have collected lots of other examples in this web design index page. Here's a table of contents. All of these are other examples. Okay, let's read the comments. Hey Rat, great to see you. Rise of the idiots. So so Rat says we had CUA and HIG Act. Then webcam and standards and documentation went out of the window. Then phones and touch tablets now. Designers rule. There are no rule, no tooltips act. Yeah, it's true. So CUA stand for CUA is an Asian thing created by IBM. It stands for Common User Interface, because back then, this is like late 1980s or early 1990s. Back then, because back then, software, almost every software, they have different keyboard shortcuts. They have different kind of menus. You know, Today the menu is kind of standardized. You have file, edit, and others. But back then, every software is different. So they created this CUA standard. And HIG is Apple's Human Interface Guide, which is very popular. It has a huge influence on the impact on the industry. So those are the early days of user interface design. Um, Back then, graphical user interface is actually pretty new. From Apple, popular popularized by Apple. So, those are critical, important ideas. So Daniel says hundreds of millions of people have tried and then abandoned Twitter. you know, so let's take this Twitter example. Let's get concrete. So you see, this Twitter forces you to use this little narrow window. Now, I understand on the phone, possibly for ease of implementation reasons, so-called what they call it today, like uh, but anyway, suppose for ease of implementation reasons, so that they can write one code that works on phone, very tiny screen, works on desktop, uh, you know, so regardless of monitor size. Now, now if that's the reason, okay, I understand. Maybe they sacrifice the desktop. But however, they have, Twitter is not a small company. They have lots of money. I don't think that's the reason. Um, so if you think, yeah, so what do you think? Why is Twitter is like doing this? Do they actually think people like it? One of the reason that drives all this UI, this stupid UI and UX thing is that often they their their goal is not actually uh, their goal of creating UI or UX, okay, is not actually make the user happier, okay. That's part of their goal, but that's not the main goal. Many of these commercial corporations, their main goal is actually to create a UI such that you will use this software more. Ultimately, they want to make more money. Okay, so they want to create a UI so that gets you to interact with it more, like more clicks and more stuff. That's ultimately more money. That's their main goal. Sometimes this goal conflict with the goal of a UI that makes user happy. So I think this is the one of the main reason in many of these user interface design evolution cases where the user interface simply get worse and worse. And there I have quite a lot other examples. One of them is the gray text in white background. This became fashionable about 10 years ago now. By now it must be 10 years old. Like, but before, let's say this began in 2010. Okay, let's just say began in 2010. So before that, you never have the idea of gray, make the text gray in a white background. But it's like a fad. It's like a fashion. Okay, since 2010 or something like that, then every website began to make gray, the text gray. Like some of these are just unreadable. You have a hard time to read it. Look at this one, orange text in gray background. And the hateful thing about these things is that it's fashionable. It's not just fashionable. It's widely popular, and it's spread like in every company and by every programmers. And some of this page is literally really unreadable. uh, you know so that's another example of the user interface issues with this, somehow this industry uh, movement trend. So let's go back to read the comments. Twitter made chat room scalable. Twitter made chat room scalable, social media more approachable by introducing a simple feature that users were certainly not asking for. The 140 characters limit. The 140 character limit originally was a limit of the phone SMS protocol. Yeah, I'm pretty sure of that. Uh, well, yeah, yeah. I just want to mention it, in case people don't know. Originally, Twitter was I think it was designed on a phone. There's on a phone back then, in 2004 or 2006. The phone is not like today's phone. We don't have smartphone yet, or smartphone is not popular yet. You have text messages, SMX, SMA, SMS, I think that's called. So there's a character limit. So that's how it began. Today they can make it, they can make it, 1,000 characters limit, but they don't want to, because again, because I think, pretty sure it's because to make this decision. I mean, their goal is to make money. So everything is considered with respect to which way can we make more money. So I think that is the reason they are, right now their limit is 280 characters. I think that is the reason they don't want to extend the character limit, because I think they decided 280 is the optimal for making more money for them right now. uh, Benjamin, hey Ben, text is harder to read if there are very wide columns. It's nicer if it wraps after about 15 words. Yes, that's true. um, yeah, and that's true, but also, I like to mention, another thing is that it's actually not easy to do. I mean, it's easy to do technically. It's trivial, but however, for example, my website. Let's say, my page. If it's, yeah, because the reason is that, I mean, the monitor size, the monitor width varies by great lot. Some and it changes over the years. So it, yeah, because I have run into this issue and I thought about it. It's really hard to come up with a simple and systematic way, or set of rules that works for every monitor. Because, for example, I have you know I have the sidebars. Like right now, my website, you have the left sidebar, you have the right sidebar, then you have the middle. But if the text is smaller, for, okay, for example, right now, but if I expand the window, then the text is gonna go all over across. If I have, let's see, if I have a longer sentence. No, not here. But I mean, the text is going to extend all across over here. That's just too long. But if you force a maximum, let's say no more than 80 characters, then you got other issues. Then you got like, like, you, you, you got other issues, like, for example, if you have a text that's essay, okay, HTML history. Well, basically, what happens is that all the text becomes just, only one column of your screen. The rest is just blank. So there is like really no way to make it work for any size of window, screen size. So let's see. By the way, this is called. You look at my website. You see, if your window is too narrow, the right panel disappears. Now, if it's even narrower, the left panel also disappears. That's called, what's that? What's the word? There's a word for that. Is- I know where to find it. So let's go to web dev tutorial, visual CSS. Then you go down, you'll see, uh, media query. Yeah, media query. Uh, uh, Responsive design. Yeah, that's the phrase. Responsive design. Yeah, reflow. Reflow is another thing actually. But anyway, you see how this way works, where the right panel disappears when it's too narrow. The left panel also disappears. That that is actually called like responsive design. That's a term used to mean that you just write one CSS style, and exactly what's the width of your columns changes depending on your window width. That's what they call it. It becomes a fashionable thing. Um, but let's go back to web design there. So okay. I'm near my sleeping time. So let's see. Weibo and WeChat are also boring. I see. Rise of the Idiots. YouTube Watch. What's that video? Let's see. Show. Oops. I'm not sure what is this video. Oh, okay. Go back. Okay, the messages just went out. Shit. So how long I've been talking? 8 people watching. Yeah, I'm kind of lost on today's topics. So you guys ask me questions, So yeah, today is supposed to be a question session, because I was thinking, there are several people, Emacs people, my Emacs followers, I thought they're gonna ask me Emacs questions. So let's see. Text is harder to read. Okay, Weibo, Rise of Idiots, Google Design. Good design is easy to digest. Yes. Reflow. Okay, we run out of comments. Okay. Uh, okay, let me talk about, yeah, so let's just talk about something about designing, since we are on that topic. Typography sucks. Okay, that's a big issue. I'm kind of tired, so I'm not, too energetic to get excited to talk about this. But this is one of the big issue. Like when people in the design community, in specifically typography, they are like they have a, group. Is they are like a gang where they promote typography as if it's the greatest invention, the most critical invention of humanity. they, yeah, the typography kind of group. They are kind of like a sort of elite group. It's like how you have. It's kind of like, so it's kind of analogous to the Emacs users group or the Vim users group, where Emacs and Vim people, they think, oh, this is critical, this is important, this is the greatest tool, but actually, if you step outside and if you look at the whole world or the computing industry, Emacs is like disposable. It's the least important thing. It's not, it's the least important software. Like if Emacs got wiped out today, nothing happens to the world. People just use Vim. If Vim got wiped out, let's say, snap of finger, it disappears. Then people just use other editors. They just, well, they might cry, but they'll just start to use Atom or Microsoft Visual Code. It's like there's no problem at all. But however, I mean, as a contrast in comparison, if PHP disappeared, then there's a huge damage to the world. The stocks will go down. There's gonna be disasters. People will die possibly. So this by this comparison, you can actually see which one is actually more critical to humanity. Or if Java disappeared, or or C programming language, or Golang disappeared, or Python, any of one of those programming languages is far more important in Emacs. It's actually, you know, or even if Google Chrome disappeared, or any browser, Firefox disappeared. So anyway, so so in typography communities, there's kind of similar, kind of a small group. They think they are elite, and I mean they think typography, like, it's very important. In the same way, it's like, okay, it's kind of, sometimes you run into grammarians and grammar Nazis, so-called grammarians. They are picky about everything about grammar. But in fact, in reality, if you actually look at the word in reality, grammar is not really important. It's not important at all. In fact, if you look at vast majority of writings, they are not grammatically correct. Basically, vast majority of writings. Okay, still 9 people watching. That's so. What should we talk about today? So anyway, so okay, Donald Knuth, Steve Jobs. There's a video here. You might want to watch it. When I talk about these topics, for example, web design, well, actually, a lot of my opinions. Typography sucks, and gray on white background. This issue, or the peep show window issue. Sometimes, like, if you show, like, for example, some of my followers, they actually disagree, but I cannot fathom how is it possible. Because, for example, typography, I'm sure some of you probably disagree. You probably think, oh, typography, you you are really you really love about the topics of typography, like kernings, which font to use. You spend a lot of time to pick the just the best font to for programming. You are obsessed about kerning. Like, kerning is when kerning. The best example of kerning is fi. Let me magnify. So this is fi, but in some font they connect the f and I, and that is called kerning. Let's see if I can find the example. Let's okay. So what's the command? What? Wait. Okay, insert char. Okay, fi. Yeah, I cannot. There's. It's called kerning, ligatures. It's called ligatures. Well, the easiest way to find it is Wikipedia. So you can see typographic ligatures. That's what it is. So you see this fi, the I is becomes like under f. You see, so it's like, it's almost like the two letters are merged together. And there are other examples. For example, here, okay, it's like you connect them together. Why they do that? Because back then, a few hundred years ago, yeah, it somehow it just developed out of typographers. They do that because they think it's more legible. They think it's yeah, they think it's, it's easier to read that way. But actually, I don't think so. I don't think there's a scientific data that says, the literature is actually easier to read. And kerning, the word kerning means that when you adjust two letters, in micropixels, like adjust, put them together, like the literature case, that's called kerning. So a lot of programmers, it looks like, these elite type of programmers, they seems to have obsession about these things. Like they get excited about, oh, you should do kerning here or there. But it's actually all bullshit. It's worthless. It's the most worthless thing. uh, yeah, so for typography, for example, this so let's go open a new window. They fetishes aesthetic, yes. uh, so Ben says, I don't think anyone outside of the typography community cares or even notices different types. Exactly, that is exactly what I think as well. uh, so I would say in a similar way, most, vast majority of programmers don't care about Emacs stuff. It's like I'm a Emacs fan, okay, and of course I like Emacs, but do not I do not have, like in real life, like at work, you don't really even, you can't really talk to your coworkers about your excitement about Emacs unless you kind of know the coworker, but otherwise it's rather offensive. And people know that, even the Emacs loving people, but they keep saying Emacs is great or that, or you should tell people to use Emacs. In reality, you can't. I mean, even if you tell your friends to use Emacs where he is using, for example, let's say Microsoft stuff or Atom editor, you don't even do that much, because, you know, but I mean, basically, overall, it's just not important. That's the point. It's really not important what editor you use. But to the Emacs community, people, like we see on Reddit, you see the way they get excited. They talk. They live, like the way they talk. It seems like they live in a different world, in a bubble. So in the same way, the typography people, like when you are interested in design or fonts, well, I am, okay, I have some interest in that. So you study them, you look them. I read, Donald Knuth's typography books. I read his tech stuff. So and Steve Jobs, who is also a big fan about typography, the beauty of it. And these people, and look at this is a very famous, apparently it's a very famous documentary about Helvetica. Well, that's the title of the documentary, Helvetica. It's made in 2007. um, and someone, oh, okay, it's been taken down again. That's a problem with YouTube. But I'm sure there's someone else must have put up another copy. But anyway, that's a famous documentary. You watch the documentary, you see these typography people, designers. They glorify how critical, how important, how beautiful it is, typography. I mean, the way you look at the way they talk, it's like they say the typography influences your thought. It's like total bullshit. But they really, it looks like they really mean it. It's just like, analogous to the Emacs people, when we, okay, talk about Emacs, we see we get excited, how important is, your buffer stuff or whatever. It's not really important. Um, yeah, so there's a typography issue, and you'll see this in programmers hacker, the hacker types forums such as Hacker News or Reddit often. Every year, every few months, you'll see someone will post a blog about typography and gets lots of thumb up, and everyone is like talking about it, gets excited. Oh, my preference, my favorite font is this or that, or my favorite, I didn't like this one because some little things. So yeah, that's a situation. These niche groups, how do you call that? These niche groups who think their stuff is important. And actually, it's also similar to photographers and photography. In the photography community, you have this kind of small group of like elite photographers. They think photography is like the greatest art, one of the great art form. Then they get into details about how you should, the photo, the design of taking a photo and stuff. It's all bullshit. Okay, let's see the comments. Okay, so that's how long I've been talking. Let's see if people is like, oh my god, I got more and more people watching. Okay, when people start to dwindle, then that's it. That's the time to say goodbye for today. So for now, let's continue for a bit. So you got these typography things. Okay. Well, since we are talking about typography, let me cover a few things. Now, there's a issue about serif versus sans serif font. Okay. Now, you guys know what's a serif versus sans serif, right? Uh, well, I'm not going to explain. Well, should I? Well, most of you probably already know because should I explain? Should I or should I not? Should I stay or should I go? that, that, that's a song. That's a song talking about. Uh, okay, what am I doing now? Yeah, I'm going to show you. I need to go to my CSS tutorial. So go to language tutorial, CSS tutorial. Where is it? Yes, here, Visual CSS. Then scroll down. Then you'll see a section about font. Here, CSS font family. No, we don't care. Oh, okay, here. Not this page. Let's go to standard font, web font. No. Uh, Google Web Font. Okay, let's just go to font family. Okay, serif and sans serif. This is serif. Okay, it's got little things, edges there. This is sans serif. Okay, it's like just straight lines. I mean, it's lines without decoration. Serif is like with little decorations on the corners and edges. That's called serif font. And here's sans serif font. So what about these? Well, there's a long standing question about which one to use. Like, is serif font more readable or is it sans serif font more readable? So it's a design. It's a question in web design. It's a perpetual question. Web designers ask that question often. Now I can tell you, I've been studying this subject. I've been looking into this question for a long time, since 1992, something like that. There is no scientific data that says one of them is more readable or legible. Okay, there's none. there are like a few very small handful of academic studies papers published about this question, but there's no conclusive there's no conclusion, there's no uh, majority conclusion one way or the other. I mean, you can search the web, you can type serif or sans serif, which is more legible, uh, and you'll run some website will say this, some website will say that. Eventually you'll find some website that actually studied all the other websites or and books and stuff, and she, I believe there's a one female that talked about that. There's no conclusion. You can also read Wikipedia, but anyway, every 2 or 3 years I take a survey because because I'm obsessed about these issues. Even I don't like them, but still, like for 20 years I studied typography. I studied Donald Knuth's stuff. I use Apple. All 1990s. I use Apple. I read from Steve Jobs' opinions. By the way, I respect Jobs' opinions, and I'm also very interested about aesthetics. So, well, yeah, you might see me, diss about these issues, but actually, I am concerned about aesthetics. That's why I'm studying all the things about web design, UI, and I look at what people say, why and stuff. But anyway, so back to the topic. What I was saying. Oh yeah, so every 2 or 3 years, I survey the major websites such as Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Washington Post, and so on. First of all, you go to Wikipedia and you do research and find out. Let's say, okay, the question is, okay, what's the top five most read, most popular publications? You go research that. So I have done that. Basically, it's these: Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Washington Post, L.A. Times. Uh, yeah, that's basically the top four. Actually, also there are a couple others. But anyway, their circulation changes, over the years. But these are the big ones. Uh, and also, Time Magazine is popular. Scientific American is not really that popular, but it's a popular magazine for scientists, or people interested in scientists. But anyway, every few years I look, I take a survey of their websites and to see if they are using serif font or using sans serif. And so so this is a report. This one is written in 2016. So let's look. Now, for serif and sans serif font, basically, usually you separate your web page or publications content into two groups. One is the header, the title. Okay, these are the title or header. Okay, this that's one thing. Then the body text is another thing. So typically, traditionally, okay, from 1990s, traditionally, you uh, you use serif for one of them, then sans serif for the other part. Okay, that's, I forgot which one is which, or if there is a consensus. I forgot. But anyway, look at this. Okay, this is Wall Street Journal. They are using serif all over, in title and also the body text. On my website, it's all sans serif. Before in 2000, in most of 2000s, it's all serif. But I use the sans serif now. So anyway, I surveyed them and I made a report. So sans serif, those who are using sans serif body text, includes these, big websites. Then here's a report on the title, the font used for title text. So most of them are serif, except USA Today. USA's Today is kind of special. They like sans serif. Okay, another issue about web design is fixed layout or flow. What is fixed layout? Fixed layout is such that, for example, my website is flow. You can see, as I move around, you see the text kind of changes. The fixed website is such that doesn't matter how you resize your window, they they well, I cannot. Well, for example, this well, I don't have an example right now, but these two website, the A list part, they used to be a fixed layout. Fixed layout means just like it means like a newspaper, okay, like a printed newspaper or printed book. You can they never, their layout never changes. Doesn't matter how you resize your window, their layout doesn't change. If your window is too small, you simply cut off, part of it. If your window is large, you simply get blank space around it. So they are like fixed. They don't change. That's the meaning. That's why they are called fixed layout. It's rare today. You don't find it. You don't find fixed layout today. Yeah, it's pretty much gone. You can still find them, some of them, but however, most of the websites throughout up to 2010, for example, they all prefer fixed layout. Actually, even today, for example, this Twitter, it's actually fixed layout. You see, doesn't matter how I change my window, it's fixed. You see the word on here, then it wraps to the next line. It never changes the wrap. It's a fixed layout. Even if I exit this pop-up window, you see this remain this width. It doesn't change. Um, does it? Yeah, it doesn't. The wrap always stay at the same place. So why do they actually web designers, they tend to prefer fixed layout, because in fixed layout, like PDF, okay, PDF is a great example of fixed layout. Commercial websites or publications, they always prefer fixed layout because then they can control exactly, which picture or headlines or which boxes are where. Yeah, they can control exactly, everything, where is, which one goes where. And especially designers, web designers or graphic designers. For example, a magazine, you have a bunch of illustrations, right? And the designers, of course, they carefully place they want exact positions for everything, to lay out a magazine, for example. So 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 they have like total control of the aesthetics. That's what designers like. This is opposed to nerds or engineering types, like maybe like us. Okay, we we tend to prefer logical layout. Okay, we don't care about which thing is where. That we don't care. We only care about, we have titles. Then the first section, first level of headings. Then we have, subsections that we care. We want things to be logical. Okay, the HTML was designed to be for that purpose, because it was created by nerd. It wasn't designed to be, fixed layout. And even CSS, is not really designed for fixed layout. You have lots of problems. That's why a lot of people. But anyway, so HTML was created so by nerds. It's designed for the logical layout, not fixed layout. But however, commercial publications and designers, they almost always want fixed layout, and that's one of the reason. Uh, like PDF is very popular. It seems a lot of people actually rather prefer to read a book in PDF form as opposed to HTML. I think there is actually a good reason why publications, either in print or on website, they prefer fixed layout, and maybe therefore the designers prefer fixed layout because when you have a fixed layout, you actually have full control of everything. Um, as well as for readers. When you read a book, when it is in PDF, things don't change depending on what device you are using it. So, hi guys, are you guys still there? So, do you guys prefer PDF or the floor layout? I have people asking me for my Emacs tutorial to be in PDF layout. In PDF, they want the PDF versions. Oh my god, I got more and more readers, more and more people watching. So who are you guys watching? Say something. Type in the comment box. Type anything. Okay, any questions, comments, opinions. Just type it. When I'm talking about something, just type it. Okay, so there is fixed layout versus floor layout. So that's one thing. So I was doing a survey. When you look at all the publications, I want to see whether they are using fixed layout or flow layout. You see? Okay, so actually, New York Times. Look here, New York Times and USA Today. They are using fixed layout. Let's check them out. New York Times. Okay. Yeah, let's go here. New York Times. Yep, that's the one. So Ben prefers float. Janice prefers anything? Or were you talking about something else? Okay, Ben says, what's the point of serif decoration? I think serif decoration they evolved out of legibility. I think I forgot, but you can find the answer on Wikipedia. Like if you go to Wikipedia, they have like history. Let's look at that in a moment. Let's look at the New York Times. So let me try to resize the window and see what happens. You see, this is a fixed layout. You see, this is what happened. Oh wait. Yeah, they have. Let me turn off the my auto click. So they do have responsive design, but however, you see that. Wait. Hmm. Okay, they are maybe. Okay, that's so. Well, I'm not sure how do you classify whether it's fixed or flow because today with responsive design, it kind of became a borderline. I mean, it's not as clear cut as before. So anyway, that's New York Times. So the history of serif. Let's see. Serif. I think it's developed for legibility. Let's see. Like originally, in history, originally, letters do not have serif. Okay, here's a good. Wikipedia always have good information for non-political things. Okay, my computer is getting slow. Let me close some window. Close window. Okay, so let's see. So this is serif. So you can see the red part are the serif. So what's the history of serif? But originally, all letters or alphabets they don't have serif. Serif were added. So serif originated in the Latin alphabet with inscription lettering, words carved into stone in Roman antiquity. The explanation proposed by Father Edward Cattig in his 1968 book, The Origin of the Serif, is now broadly but not universally accepted. The Roman letter outlines were first painted onto stone, and the stone covers followed the brush marks, which flared at stroke ends and corners, creating serifs. Okay. So this is what? What year is this? Rome. Uh, okay. Well, anyway, that's a history of serif. Okay, so history of serif. So let's go back to. So how many of you are watching? 12. I think we're gonna end like I've been talking for 6, 7, 8, 80 minutes. I cannot count anymore. Serif versus sans serif. So what do you guys think? Any thoughts? What's your opinion? What's your rant? What's your gripe? Like what do you want to say about topography? Danny Puddle says, have you used VS Code yet? Why do you think it has such a boom in usage? What could Emacs do or learn about it? Oh, I have great opinions about that. No, I never actually used VS Code. Wait, VS Code. Yeah, I actually never used it. So there's a Microsoft Visual Studio. That was the classic from 1990s to 2000. They still have that. But then in the last maybe 3 years, they created the Microsoft VS Code, which is kind of like Atom editor from GitHub. GitHub made the Atom editor. It's written in JavaScript, so Microsoft also did it using the framework Electron. Yeah, there's a JavaScript framework Electron. Basically, it's just a Google Chrome browser. That's kind of the foundation. So you have Google Chrome browser running JavaScript. That's your editor. So Atom is that one example, and VS Code from Microsoft. I have tried Atom, but I've never tried VS Code. And why do you think it has such a booming usage? Well, the one thing I can say for sure is that the reason Emacs do not have are not very popular because of Emacs people refuse to change it. So because first of all, the Emacs, when you use Emacs, there's lots of jargons. The buffer, the cruiser, they call it point, and a file that you call buffer. Then you have huge bunch of jargons. Then you have highlighting is called mark. um, mark, yeah, and let's see, yeah, point and mark. Kusa is called point. Kusa position is called point. Because it's from 1980s, or late 1970s, 1980s. So it's you have huge amount baggage, but also even that, but Emacs is still wonderful. It's really powerful and flexible. It's really great. It's still reasonably, I would say, great, despite all the many baggages. But the other thing is, the Emacs people, they are proud of it. They refuse to change. They refuse to change. So, for example, if there's a one recommendation, how to make Emacs popular, I can say this one thing. If Emacs people just change, make the copy, cut, paste, undo shortcut, with Control C for copy, Control X for cut, Control V for paste, Control Z for undo. Just do that. You do that out of the box, uh, and then Emacs will be, I guarantee, will be twice as popular within 1 year. Okay, I guarantee this. Just do this out of the box, and I don't mean turn on GUI, CUA mod. No, CUA mod is a mod in Emacs. It's a hack. Okay, it's a hack to make Emacs use Control C for copy, Control X for cut. It's a hack, and it doesn't work well. It's got lots of problems. But get the Emacs developers, to make Emacs so that you have this copy cut paste key, same as the standard Windows, Microsoft Windows or Mac. Mac use the command instead of control. Just use these standard keys. I guarantee within 1 year, the Emacs user base will double. Okay, but I've said this since 10 years ago, at least, 15 years ago. I've said it repeatedly. Every time it's a flame war. It's a big flame war. You got 100 people replying, arguing. Some people call me a troll, and it's hopeless. There's no way. It's very hard to get that to change. Of course, then people start to, they disagree, and these stupid hackers, they're really truly idiot. Okay, there's no, I do not doubt a bit. On this issue, you can decide. You have to make a decision. Either I'm an idiot saying these things, or they are, okay. These Emacs developers. There's no way for me to change my opinion on this today because I've studied the issue in detail for 20 years. Um, so the reason Emacs people do not change, because the Emacs dev community, there is got a lot of problems. Foremost is a problem of code. Um, well, I'm not going to go into that because then I will be less convincing, because then it relates to open source. The open source and free software ideology. It, it- you know. So let me say, let me just say this, okay? If you want things to improve, okay, first of all, you throw away ideology. You may actually, you may like Free Software Foundation, you may like open source. Okay, I accept that, okay? I even like that, a lot of those ideas. But first of all, if you want really to decide, what, decide on facts or what would work, okay? First of all, try, throw away your ideology. Consider, you don't care if open source fails. Let's say, imagine if you love open source or Free Software Foundation. Just imagine for a moment you really hate them, you hate their ideas. Okay, just imagine for a moment. Then let's think about, start to look for answers. How can we possibly improve Emacs? It would, if we change the copy, cut, paste, undo keys to the, uh, to the CUI or Windows way. Let's say Windows way. Actually, all Linux is using that key too. So if we change that key, would it actually increase Emacs user base? Just think about these issues and try to use scientific method. Try to throw away whatever biases you have. Then you might find some answers better. It's up to you to do this, to think about this, if you really want to um, seek answers that's true. Okay, Jan, what is the point of self-deprecation? Janice, anything? Janice says, I was making a joke. I like org layout. Okay, just got an idea. It would be cool to browse web in org. Browse web in org? Like, what do you mean? Like, maybe not convert existing website, but create an easy way to create such an additional benefit they would be easy to convert for local use in Emacs. That would be very hard. You want to turn HTML to org for all the website, it would be almost like impossible. Well, because website, you got CSS, not even, let's ignore JavaScript for now, but actually most websites require JavaScript these days. But even if we ignore JavaScript, you got CSS, which does, lots of things. CSS, they can do lots of things. They like, and all these are CSS. You have 2D transform, you have, so I mean, just look at this. All these are CSS. Imagine you want to put them into org mod. Org mod is, like plain text. You simply cannot. uh, I would actually prefer, I've wrote articles about, there's a transition. I wrote article about, Emacs actually should migrate to HTML as its standard documentation format. Of course, this is controversial, but I've been talking about it for over 15 years. It's not gonna happen anytime soon. And you may not agree. Of course, I have to do a lot of talking to actually get you started to maybe possibly think about it to see if you agree. I mean, you probably do not agree, but I think HTML should be Emacs default doc format today, because the text info format is like Asian, 30 years old. Nobody knows about it. You ask today's programmer, nobody give a, it's Asian, it's a relic. And Ogmod, okay, Ogmod is great. Okay, Ogmod is great. It's useful, but yeah, I'm not saying we should replace Ogmod. Ogmod is very useful still. But anyway, what we should have is that we should push Emacs to support HTML more, like natively, so that when this happens, we can actually read all the websites in Emacs, and all the documentation will be, in HTML. We can just, read local copies in Emacs, including all Python, whatever language, Golang, whatever, because they are all in HTML and PHP and Java. Then you can read them in Emacs pure text. That's going to be a pure joy. Now, of course, we have, the U browser, and but they don't really work, well. The the really we What we really want to do is actually to push Emacs to really support HTML in some native way. But that's not even a priority. But like I said, Emacs dev, the culture has lots of problems. It's almost like stagnating. It's going nowhere. So what do you think, Sa? Would Emacs be twice as popular in a year if they would change Command C, Control C? Yes. Delete word by pressing Control. No, I think Emacs would uh, like double its users if we just adapt the copy paste copy paste cut undo commands key shortcuts. Now about delete word and by pressing Control instead of Alt, I think that Emacs already support that. Yeah, I mean the question is how do you move cursor around and how do you delete what? The Emac already support that in the same way that Windows and Mac uh, do. Pretty much the same key. I think that part. So Janet says, I think different people use different tools. I don't consider Emacs a text editor. It should be considered what a Lisp interpreter on C basis. Yeah, yeah. The other thing I really wish is I wish Emac Lisp would improve. Um, you know, then we can really do a lot with it. We can really, like today Emacs is like irrelevant thing. As a software, it's truly irrelevant to the world. Okay, if Emacs go away, in a second, nothing happens to the world. But however, if anyway, that's anyway. So Danielle says if you are coding PHP or Python or JavaScript, you are an IDE. You use an IDE and few users for Emacs. Honestly, the plan for Emacs is to get it to support VS Code plugin. No, I wouldn't want that. I don't want Emacs to support VS plugin. But actually, if you code PHP or Python or JavaScript, those languages Emacs is very good at those languages. So Daniel, are you like a C coder or C++ or something? Like, are you system programmers like low level or are you more high level? But anyways, PHP and Python and JavaScript, Emacs is very good at. That those are the languages I do. I of course I stick with Emacs. I actually never used IDEs much, not in my life actually. Uh, and then I'd rather not Emacs support VS Code. I think the critical thing is to improve Emacs Lisp. Because we can code Emacs Lisp to do, we can use Emacs Lisp to code so many things. Like I mean, like I live in Emacs, right? Everything I do, all the 7,000 web pages HTML I created manually in Emacs. With commands and tools I wrote. So we can do that. We don't want the VS Code plugins. We want to improve Emacs Lisp, the language, so that we can actually do more and easier. That's my opinion. Uh, yeah, I think web stuff for web dev, Emacs is very good. The only thing I know Emacs is usually not suitable is Java. When you code Java, most people, you need other tools. Yeah, cloud is also a bad thing. Another thing, cloud. Uh, okay, so what's up? What else, guys? I think yeah, that's it for today. I'm getting kind of tired, and we are losing people. 8 people watching. So okay, any more questions? Feel free to ask. Let me answer one. If you have questions, one more question or two questions, this is a great opportunity because I don't know when I'm going to go on in the morning. Next time I should have a fixed schedule. So I can announce it early. At this date, at this time. I'm going to start. We're gonna have a XR talk show, XR TV, and we can talk about this topic. Then people who are interested in that topic can come online. But okay, any more questions? Thank you for coming. Thank you guys. Rat Ratsu, great to see you again. And hi Janice, first time seeing you here. And hi Benjamin, first time seeing you here. Um, so thank you all guys for coming by. Hope to see you again next time. Bye.